You can just see maybe the utter confusion here as these cars have been left sort of in the middle of the street. They've been melted down to nothing. Even the tires have melted off this car that's sitting right here, left in the middle of the street, of course. And as we move to the middle, we noticed something that was kind of strange here. It's a boat. It's a boat and a car that's been flipped over. How did this happen? It's so hard to explain some of these things.
Hi you guys, I am just doing a video about this video by Mental Boost on YouTube because I want to ask you guys your opinion and what do you think. This video is 13 minutes and 28 seconds long. I will leave a link down below and I just ask that you guys watch it and tell me what you think, because I just don't know how some of this that's being videotaped is how you can explain it. Now, right there is the undercarriage of a car. And I will play this a little further. What you're looking at is this hole is for the sending unit of the gas tank, which would be accessible from beneath the rear seat of the car. This well right here is beneath the trunk where your spare tire would go. This is the muffler and this is the remainder of the exhaust coming down and away from the car that normally pass through this channel right here. These are the two gas tank straps. So this is indicative that the gas tank on this car blew up, and that's why the gas tank is missing, and the straps are snapped and the car is on its side. But what I'm wondering is over here, how did the engine come out of this car? Let me play it a little more. The engine came completely out of this automobile. How does a fire do that? Now I can understand an explosion on the back of the car overturning the car, but how does the engine end up over here? How does an explosion on the back end of the car rip the engine out? Because right there is the motor. This is what makes no sense to me. Any guy that has ever removed an engine from his automobile with his buddies on a Saturday or a Sunday and has some guys come over to help him knows what it takes to remove an engine from an automobile. If it was an explosion that did it, it would have ripped all this apart. All of this would be gone. It would have blown this car into pieces. All this would be gone. But it's all intact. The whole entire chassis of the car is intact, but the engine was ripped this way. When the explosion was to the back of the car, there was more force to rip out the engine than there was to blow the gas tank off and overturn the car. This doesn't make any sense to me. I will show you another vehicle. Let me back up here. Here's another thing that makes no sense. You are looking at a crankshaft of an engine. This is an internal part to an automobile. How did it get beneath the bed springs and the rubble? This came out of an engine. This is to the inside of a car's engine. Car or truck. All engines have crankshafts. How did it get through the engine block and land there? Here is a car that is overturned. There is the gas tank. The straps, both straps broke because the gas tank swelled up like it was getting ready to blow up because of the intense heat, but it did not rupture and it did not blow up because there's the gas tank intact and the car is overturned.
Sam's car.
What overturned this car?
Hallway.
Because its gas tank is completely intact. I don't know what you make of that. It literally looks like a bomb went off. And in this video, even the news person reporting on the story is trying to, even mentions in this video, he doesn't understand how any of this happened. This is a boat that's upside down, an aluminum boat, but nowhere in this video is the trailer to this boat found. Where did this boat come from? It's upside down, and all the vehicles in this video are upside down. There's the boat, upside down.
There's no other way out. This
and no boat trailer anywhere. Now right here,
that's a car.
In the driveway is an engine. And it's melted. That is an engine sitting upright in this guy's driveway, and the whole engine is melted. And you're telling me a fire does this? Never in my life have I ever seen a pickup truck, and this is a Dodge Ram pickup truck. There's the engine right there, and the whole entire truck is gone. The whole thing is gone. I don't know what's going on in California, but this evidence here is not normal. So I'm going to leave this video for you guys to watch yourself, but it's interesting to see what's happening to these vehicles. How an engine can come out of the vehicle, and there's the exhaust from the engine coming this way towards the camera. I don't know, you guys. You tell me what you think. How on earth a fire can cause this kind of damage. And how all these vehicles are overturned except the pickup truck. And look at this stuff, how it melts and runs along the asphalt and then re-dries. And how these vehicles out in the street are upside down. This one is completely, this is a pickup truck. See the gas cap right there? This pickup truck obviously was blown into the air because as it come down, it crushed the car. That's why the doors are bent and the roof is all crinkled like this. And it has no rubber tires on it, and it's laying in the street upside down. Now I know gas explosions can do this from rupturing a gas line or a fuel tank blowing up. But like I showed you, that other vehicle that still has its gas tank intact, right there, and this vehicle is upside down. What am I missing here?
There's a motorcycle under.
And that crankshafts are on the outside of engines, laying in yards, and engines are outside of vehicles and they're melted.
Touch it.
But the vehicle that has its engine out of it is just,
Pile of rock cloths.
I don't even know what to make of that.
Paint the house over there that's no longer there.
How this vehicle right here could have its engine, if it was an explosion, it would have gone upwards and out the hood, not out the bottom of the vehicle. Anyway, you guys watch this video for yourself and let me know down below what you think. But when I look at the images of the aftermath of these so-called wildfires, this looks more like an Afghanistan war zone than a wildfire. There is no way a wildfire can do this kind of damage to automobiles. No way. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
The other question I wanted to ask you, though, before we head out here is, you mentioned these blue flashes, and I saw other videos that weren't on your channel that talked about the same thing. So it wasn't like lightning. Can you describe why it was different than lightning? What it is that you experienced?
It was just a couple flashes of blue. And, you know, since I've been looking up and looking at the skies since 2005, I kind of took it to be some type of new kind of, I just thought it was just a new kind of chemtrail, because we had, back in August, we had, as I said earlier, we had the hottest temperatures. We got up to 118 degrees in Santa Rosa and blew the doors off the hottest temperatures. Another note is I have an apple farm over 140 trees, and I got one box of apples. One box. All my fruit's gone. All the trees. I mean, it's another weapon I think is being occurring with these temperatures and stuff. But the blue flashes, I don't know if they were part of it, but I know they have the capability. A lot of people are commenting, no, it has to be invisible. But so many people said they saw the same thing that it couldn't be discounted as just random, because so many people from so many different areas said the same thing. And a couple of people that I posted on my video said they had cameras. Or said they took pictures of it, and I posted those, and other people said, oh, that's the flash from a camera. But so many people are reporting it that it has to be valid, because it was eyewitnesses and first-person accounts. And I find it very, very humbling, and like you said, is very disconcerting when you're using first-person accounts. I saw this, and people are looking at you, go, you're wrong. You know, you didn't see it. You know, no, you didn't. And the other sad part of it, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but unfortunately, you know, the not in my backyard syndrome, it's happening here as well. And since these torch fires hit one neighborhood, Coffee Park, Fountain Grove, but didn't hit next door, the people that didn't get hit next door are just going back to their daily lives like nothing happened.
Yep.
You know, and it's sad. It's like, gosh, man, what does it take? You know, and the people in Houston, I saw the same thing. The areas that were hit, people are out, they're gone, they're refugees. I mean, this is a new term. It's called climate refugees, and it's happening in the United States. And there's thousands and thousands of them. And this is part of the Agenda 21 and stack 'em and pack 'em and getting everybody in the cities, is to create this refugee status and then start providing these 250 square foot homes. And interestingly, they passed the stack 'em and pack 'em laws on the same day in New York City and in San Francisco. So I've been collecting comments from people, from readers, putting in what they saw in the area and documenting it, and we'll be presenting this to the fire departments and appropriate agencies. But let me just show you this list, and I just highlighted the word blue, and you can see all the blue flashes, blue laser light, really bright blue, as you'll see in a minute from this Take a Walk. He actually filmed the flashes, and we have other people doing the same. But here, blue flashes, blue lasers, nothing I've ever seen before. And it goes down. And in Potter Valley, I saw blue streaks like flares. I live in Santa Rosa, west of 3rd, and I saw blue light. I live in Santa Rosa, Indian Valley. I saw blue lightning. And it continues on. I have pages and pages of this, folks. And Sue Nami says, sacrifice all right. My cousin in Miami saw the blue lights coming down from the sky as well, right in the thick of it. I was speaking with her when she saw them. Firefighters say that when you explained about the aluminum from chemtrails. So this was posted the day after the fire, supercharged by powerful winds, whipped through Napa, Sonoma, and Mendocino, killing at least 10 people. Starting in the middle of the night, hopscotched across neighborhoods, raced across fields, jumped freeways, gusts up to 70 miles an hour, walls of flames nearly 100 feet high, throwing embers ahead like hot fingers into strip malls and subdivisions. Many people who fled the surge had enough time to grab car keys, perhaps a pet, and not much more. All right, here's a chart from the San Francisco Chronicle of the wind, and you can see that there was no wind. I was here this day in the Santa Rosa area. We got evacuated twice, and all of a sudden about 10 o'clock the wind started swirling, but before that, in my comments, there was no wind. The storm came out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden it gusts up to 80 miles an hour, and then within 2-3 hours it was completely back to normal again. Nothing normal. Let's take a look again at the Madeira fire last year caught in Portugal, and look at the vortex, folks. Look at the spinning winds that create the vortex energy to create the kinetic energy for the plasma weapon beam to focus its energy, directed energy, electromagnetic pulsing energy. But look at the vortex. Look at the swirling winds, which everybody here felt and everybody here commented about, and at night they turn into blue flashes. That's what we all saw. This was genocide. This was murder. This was an attack on U.S. soil. We need to wake up, folks. We need to wake up right now.
I mean, the storm too.
And here we see the comments from Take a Walk talking about the blue flashes that they recorded on their camera here, which will be coming up here in a second. But again, this was coming from above. These were directed energy weapons. They were torching and murdering people in their homes, fried in their homes. The body count, we will not know the true body count ever. They will never give it to us. But there's many, many people that perished in their homes. Just like in the Hurricane Harvey, the floods came in the middle of the night. Both started about 1, 2 a.m. They didn't have a chance. So here, Take a Walk has the moon, and you'll see the flash. There it is. See the flash? There it was. This is another cell phone recorded as well. There's another beam right there from a cell phone recorded. Prima facie evidence, folks. Here it is. Trees.
That is the craziest.
Ever seen trees burn like this?
Seen.
No one has.
It's hollowed out the tree.
From the inside, not on the outside.
Fire and
how do trees burn from the inside and not on the
straight
outside?
Up the middle of a tree.
It had to be directed energy weapons, folks. They torched the place with thousands and thousands of degrees, targeted certain areas, certain people, certain homes, certain businesses. Agenda 21, weather war terrorism.
That is nuts.
And then we go to 9 o'clock and boom. Okay, so all of these spots, so suddenly between, this is 9 o'clock p.m. and this is 8 o'clock p.m. So between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock p.m., all of these areas here sprang up. So these fires, it looked like they all started within an hour of each other in multiple different regions. So this is, I think this is highly suspicious. Were they set deliberately? Was this a coordinated thing? I mean, I'm sure this needs to be investigated, very carefully. But I mean, look at this. Like I say, this is at 2000, which is 8 o'clock local time. And this is an hour later. All of these areas here sprung up. Not only that, but these areas here, this area here got bigger as well. Okay, so they all sprung up within an hour. And then I can cycle through. They're building in intensity. I'm cycling through on an hourly basis here, and you can see them expanding and getting larger and larger. And we can just keep going here and cycle through. And then they're starting to fade as we get to the, where we are now. Okay, so this is a very serious thing. Have a look at it for yourself. Google Earth Null School. Have a look at it for yourself. These fires all sprung up, it seems, within an hour of each other, simultaneous. This is a very bad sign.
Quite an interesting last few hours. About 11:30 last night here in Santa Rosa, California. Out of nowhere, wind started circulating. I went outside as I heard my chime starting to go off, and I thought that was odd. There's winds, and all of a sudden, blue sparks came out of the sky. No lightning, just blue sparks. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, 60 fires, Napa, Sonoma, Santa Rosa, just hit everywhere. And these firefighters are saying to a person they've never seen a fire like this. They've never seen it move this quickly. It came out of nowhere. There was no storm fronts. There was no lightning. This was completely geoengineered. The movie Geostorm is coming out in 2 weeks. Folks, there was no wind before this happened. There was no storm before this happened. I can't make that any clearer. I can't tell you how geoengineered this entire thing was. I'll keep saying it over and over because it was. But here you see the homes burning. I mean, they just combusted. That's the word people keep using, is combusted. All right, so let's blow the skirts over your guys' heads by showing you how this works. This is part of the Agenda 21. I highly recommend a book by Rosa Corey, who lives here in the area of Santa Rosa, wrote a book called Behind the Green Mask about Agenda 21. She chronicled the Santa Rosa area, and look what gets targeted: Santa Rosa, Sonoma, Napa. All right, so here's the areas of evacuation on Monday. This is where the fires first started. Big one in Santa Rosa, Napa, Sonoma. This is when it first broke out. All right, now check this out. Now here's the evacuation area from Santa Rosa.
Now notice the streets: Fountain Grove, Shanate, Montecito. Notice where these were evacuations on the initial thrust. Now I want to bring your attention over to this document here. And this is a document that was sent by a lady named Kathleen. It's the City of Santa Rosa Department of Planning and Economic Development Citywide Summary Pending Development, June 2017. And if you go back and forth between these two, you will notice these streets are the exact same. Here's Shanate, here's Pacific, Mendocino Avenue, here's Highway 12. Isn't it interesting that the exact areas that they're evacuating are the exact areas that are zoned for Agenda 21 development? You cannot make this stuff up. So here's the evacuation area over here, Santa Rosa evacuation area. Here's the identical map of where they want to rezone everything. And if we scroll down, here's all the properties, and you see conditional use, design review major, and here we go again. Here's the same roads: Piner, Guerneville, West College Avenue, and this is the pending development on the other side of the freeway. Same exact stuff: College, Pacific, Fulton. Right where they want to redesign everything with design reviews. Oh, how conveniently a middle of the night, out of nowhere fire with 2,000 degrees plus temperature Fahrenheit. Look at this map. This is on the east side. This is Hone Avenue, Yalupa. Again, it's just a coincidence, folks. Coincidence theory. This is the area, Yalupa down in here, part of the evacuation area. How convenient that the redevelopment area coincides perfectly with the Santa Rosa development plan. Sebastopol Road, Stony Point Road, all in the evacuation sites. You cannot make this stuff up. This was planned, organized well in advance. Geoterrorism, folks. And now we got the movie coming out about the firestorm coming out the same day as Geostorm.
So having that been said, again, this is around August of 2011. PG&E has since come under fire on many issues, and certainly the fact that they've been in collusion with the California Public Utility Commission. So what happened in order to create the illusion that the California Public Utility Commission actually regulated the utilities, which they don't? It's all Rothschild. They slapped PG&E on the hand and required a document release. Well, there was a large document release, as I recall, about 7 or so months ago, and different members in this group, this EMF safety network group that I'm a part of, were going through these documents that were released by PG&E. And I'm going to read to the audience a document release, and it is extremely disturbing with that background in mind of what I said about everything starting here, literally in Sebastopol, California. Again,
wonder why they picked Sebastopol.
That was, again, ground zero for the anti-smart meter movement. That was really day one of the...
Okay, but that's a good thing. Now, are they coming back and trying to punish Sebastopol?
Well, I'm going to read these emails, and you and the listeners can make out of this what you would like. And here we go. First, I'm going to just say that these emails were dated in August of 2011. There are only 2 emails. One is from the California Public Utility Commission going to PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. And again, you can type in PG&E followed by Rothschild. You will see that PG&E is Rothschild.
It's hard to believe. It's amazing. They're just in everything.
Yes, they are. So here's what's important to understand about these emails. First of all, there were a total of 6 people involved in the email. Not just the 2 people that were communicating back and forth, but the 4 people that were copied in the email exchange. And the people that were copied, here's an idea of who these people were. First of all, the subject of the email exchange was space weather risks. And the executive director of the CPUC was copied, the vice president of regulatory affairs, the CPUC attorney, and the interim director at the CPUC. And then, of course, the two people that corresponded directly and copied those 4 people. Here's the first email, again dated August 2011. This is from the CPUC to PG&E. I assume you're assembling a high-level task force of washed up and never were, yet somehow movie star handsome former astronauts to handle PG&E's response to the upcoming damaging space weather. Also, please dribble out one at a time over the next few months all internal memos, lawsuits, PowerPoint presentations, and officer cover-up directives in which PG&E is repeatedly warned about damaging space weather and chooses to do nothing, then has its lawyers blame its customers, aka Earthlings, for an adverse consequences resulting. Now, keep in mind, PG&E is involved in weather modification. In fact, I was personally on the 16th floor of the PG&E buildings in San Francisco, where they monitor the weather, and they have pulled permits to inject cloud seeding and, of course, more here in Northern California. Here's the second email now in response to that email I just wrote that was from the CPUC PG&E. Now, this is only within about 10 minutes.
Can you talk a bit louder, Deborah? I think we're getting a little low. There we go. Now we're there. Yeah,
this is only about a 10-minute delay before there's an answer back from the CPUC email from PG&E. This is now from PG&E. Just a reminder, we are the first to propose a solar generator in space that will beam RF waves down to a receptor site and convert it to DC current. We have changed our receptor site from the Mojave Desert to Sebastopol, California. Now, this is a very alarming. I sent this email exchange to some higher-ups, and I received some responses to this email and what they believe is meant. And this is the first comment response to this email exchange. I consulted with a top expert, a man who was a high official in an American electronics company with a classified job and deep knowledge about these matters. I have been able to come up with the following. This system is set of orbital sun collectors, which will concentrate sunlight and convert it to microwaves and send it down to a station to generate power. It, however, could be used by aiming to any target below within a certain radius to completely destroy all human life slowly in a large city. Very dangerous, unneeded means of generating power now that we have so many free energy means available. Obviously, most energy providers are associated with and under the control of the U.S. government and Intel. Here's the second comment to this email exchange. I agree with your assessment. This email exchange dated 2/11 is indeed very disturbing. I submit it is merely a wisp of the smoke from a recently fired gun, the visible tip of a very dangerous iceberg. I strongly suggest you immediately file a series of Freedom of Information Act requests targeting both the CPUC and PG&E in order to hopefully get a fuller picture of this complete iceberg and what has transpired concerning this to date.
Okay.
You, as a California resident, have every right to know what your public utilities are doing with your rate dollars. As you know, beamed microwave radio frequencies from space are the patented technique for manipulating the Earth's jet streams in order to turn selectively modified weather patterns worldwide. Climate change is genuine. However, I submit It is simply not the result of excessive human carbon emissions, footprints as infamously claimed. The potential to generate electricity from beam RF waves is certainly a possibility with the existing technology, but I submit it is not the primary goal. I submit the necessary outer space RF generators are already in place and have been functional for at least a decade and a half. This is a very interesting trail of damning breadcrumbs that needs to be followed up, in my opinion. Then I have another comment, and this is interesting. The attached emails claiming the beam RF waves to Sevastopol is obviously a joke shared among PG&E and PUC staff. The technology for this has not even been developed, financed, or tested.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And here's a comment back to that. Sadly, the tech has long since been used. Space-based weapons in conjunction with the wireless networks, along with frequencies used to disperse crowds, etc., are old technologies. Most people are unaware just how advanced tech has become. 6 people were involved in these emails, PG&E and CPUC, and the tech is real. So joke or not, when someone yells fire, we must investigate, don't you think? And then there's attachments showing the involvement of PG&E with weather weapons, which they are heavily engaged. As you know, Rothschild owns Weather Central. And also the involvement of Rothschild and PG&E.
What happened? This guy, I'm not going to use his name, but he was an Army Ranger, and the agency came and got him and said, we need to take you down there and do some ops. So he was on a black ops team in Nicaragua. This is when Ortega was the president, the communists were fighting the Contras, and all these arms were coming in there, and the dope was coming back, so forth. Soviets were operating all over the area, bringing in all kinds of arms and stuff. They were in the dope business, too, just like the CIA was. And so, anyway, their black ops team was out in the jungle, and they came up on a village. This is his story. He told me directly to my face. They were on a village, and they came into the village, and there's about 100 people, men, women, children, all dead, everybody dead. Cooking pot still going, fire still going, all the people dead, but the animals alive. Goats, chickens, pigs, monkeys in the trees, and birds, everything alive. So they immediately put on their NBC gear. That's nuclear, biological, chemical, because as you recall, the Soviets were using that blue rain, that chemical stuff over there in Afghanistan when they were fighting the Mujahideen. I had some friends that were arming them with Stinger missiles and, metric tons of hash and all the crap. That's a whole other story. But anyway, back to Nicaragua. These guys saw all this stuff, and it's like they freaked them out. They thought the Soviets had dumped some kind of weird nerve agent that killed the people, not the animals. So they set up camp that night, set a perimeter, and they radioed the stuff in. They had an encrypted sat link, which went back to CI station down there, station chief. And at night, my buddy told me, he says, we seen all these bluish-white beams, and they were coming down, and when we got to the village, there was this, like a grayish ash that was in the tree canyon. They'd never seen nothing like that. All these guys were seasoned combat vets. They didn't know what these lights were. They'd never seen them. So the next morning after they called it in, CI station chief himself came out there in a Huey 204. They were using those back then instead of the Blackhawks like they got now. But he came out in the 204, and he confiscated his own Black Ops team's cameras and film and said, you guys were never here, and you never saw this. And they said, what are your orders, sir? And he said, stay here one more day, conceal, the perimeter, set a perimeter, and then leave. Well, my buddy and them saw that stuff again that night, and they had a puff plane backup off one of that air base over in El Salvador, and a puff plane, C-130 or C-123 with the miniguns on the side, usually 308. And that's a standard deal in a jungle where you got tree canopy, and if you have to call in close air support, if they got in a ground fight there, then they would just come hose the whole place down, And that was their backup. So they called them and they asked them, is there any air traffic in the area? Is there any Air Force stuff? What's going on? We're seeing strange things in the sky. And they said, there's no reported traffic. So they left, and years go by, and my buddy's back up here in the States. He's in Colorado Springs, and one of his old op buddies comes back in, and he says, "What have you been doing?" He says, "I'm bored shitless. I'm going to write a book. This civilian life is boring." And he says, "You better not write a book. That's heavy stuff we were in." Well, the next day, 2 FBI agents showed up at my buddy's house, and they arrested him. And they threw him in that pod up there with us, and that's where he told me this story. And I said, "What do you think those lights were?" And he says, "We've never seen anything like it." He said, "I think it was satellite stuff, or it was way high up, jets using those laser things that Reagan was doing that Star Wars Defense Initiative." And what he described to me is the exact same thing I saw in the videos from California starting the fire.
Wow.
They were testing that
Clip
stuff back
here.
in the 80s.
Other times they would shoot across the earth, over Brazil. Some of them looked to be coming from Antarctica, and they would make this strange spiral pattern, very artificial looking. And so I'm looking at those. Was what we are seeing there and here, is that the same? Are they linked? And is this just more evidence of some sort of strange waves passing over Earth? Or is this something man-made? You guys will have to tell me. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I'll put the original link down below to Mr. M's YouTube video. You guys can check him out, show him some love, and let me know what you think about that.